With us this evening. Now, Anne Kananu is Nairobi governor at last. And coexisting with the Nairobi Metropolitan Services, the NMS is undoubtedly agenda one of her term. But will she handle this hot seat with both first and second county governors currently facing charges in court? And what does the future hold for Nairobi with 9 months to the general election? Let me introduce my guests who are here with us in studio to help us better understand all these issues. I'm joined by LSK President, who's also an aspirant for the Westlands seat in 2022. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Wahiga Maura.
We are joined by CAS Beatrice Elachi. She knows a bit about what happens in City Hall as a former speaker, Nairobi County. Karibu.
Asante.
And last but not least, former Nairobi Town Clerk before it became a county, Philip Kisia. Welcome to the program as well. Thanks for finding time for us.
Thank you, Aiga.
And of course, you can weigh in on this discussion. 22422 is that SMS line. And the hashtag this evening is Newsnight. I'll be reading your feedback even as we carry on. And of course, and I'll start with you, CAS. Deputy Governor Anne Kananu has been made governor at last. But of course, with about 9 months before the next election. What would a 9-month term look like, in your view?
First of all, congratulations to Anne. I know I was not there. I was sent to duty by my CS, so I could not attend. But 9 months, I think, depends on how you plan it. Depends on how you get the goodwill. Depends on how people will understand you, and you don't need to go into much, but look at what is very critical, and more importantly, the social fabric. Now that we are going to elections, how is Nairobi, and how do you bring Nairobi together to move to that level? But having said that, Wahiga, we have the assumption of act, the assumption of office of every governor. And so you will not run away from that. And the law is very clear that after the swearing in, fine, she has been gazetted, then now you have the team that has to brief you, the team that has to give you an update of the assets and the register of Nairobi, give you the liabilities of Nairobi, ensure you have a complete list of all the bank accounts that you have and reconciled balances, a report of staff, established, comprehensive completely, and you have to, and it's in the schedule.
She's got a busy entry.
Oh, yes. And all of these things, you have to work very closely with the county assembly. Then the law comes in and now tells you that when a new governor gets into office, so Article 179, then you go to 7, all the CECs ceased. When she swore in, they ceased to act. At that time, they have no office. The law says that. And therefore, she's supposed now to bring in her CCs. You take them to the county assembly. They should be now again sworn in for her to say, I have a cabinet to move. She cannot assume that because it's the law. And so I am hoping she has now that team already that is going to help her move on. I would not want to advise her to say you can take the CCs that you had. If you have wisdom, that's the best way, because you don't have time to now go look for other CCs. But they will be vetted by the county assembly, meaning if you have petitions that will come in on these CCs, definitely they'll be thrown out.
There's a point to look at all that.
Yes. But then now, here is where I tell my president, because this Nairobi is for His Excellency, the President. And he has to come in with goodwill
and
to
support. For all Nairobians as well.
Oh, yes.
I thought you were going to add that.
Yeah. And all Nairobians, they want to see now something different. And so he has to have goodwill. And because he has handshake, I am hoping that goodwill, with the Prime Minister's goodwill, they will call the county assembly members, because they have to do that. Sit with them, give them the roadmap and say, let us not have a lot of, let us not go and usurp now and put her into the corner where she has to start bargaining. And they have to give her goodwill on how to work.
Now, you've taken me to other issues that we're getting to shortly. Hold on there. Let me allow Nelson Harvey to come in before I allow Philip Kisia. Is the coast clear for the governor this evening as far as legal hurdles are concerned? What's your reading of where we are? Something we've not quite seen before.
Well, I will not congratulate Governor Anne Kananu, but I will say God be with you, because for all practical purposes, she's a product of an unconstitutional and illegal enterprise, though to some extent legitimized and validated through the court process. Why do I say this? I say this because both the decision of the Court of Appeal and that of the Supreme Court are not final decisions on the substance of the matter. The question as to whether or not somebody could be designated from the post of deputy governor by an acting governor who came into office upon the vacancy created by the governor and by the deputy governor, and when a by-election had been put in place, can validly assume office is still pending before the Court of Appeal. So the cost is not clear for her. But God be with her for the 9 months should she sail to the shore.
When you say the cost is not clear for her, you mean you think there is a way to interfere with the process that began today with her being sworn in?
No, I'm not saying so. I'm just trying to
or when the
locate,
history books are written.
Yeah, I'm trying to locate the path through which she has ascended into office. It is still beset with so many lacunas, unresolved questions. I'm made to understand the Court of Appeal will hear the appeal in which these matters are before it on the 22nd of November. And I say this with a lot of conviction because the Law Society was one of the petitioners before the High Court, was one of the respondents before the Court of Appeal, and this matter need to be pursued to its logical conclusion because it may set a bad precedent.
And I know Beatrice might respond to that, but Philip, first, let me get your thoughts on this. The governor's seat in Nairobi is a hot one. Look at what happened to the previous office holders. In your view, because you've sat in that seat but under a previous constitution and so forth, you have an understanding. What should Kananu do to avoid the pitfalls that may have failed her predecessors?
Okay, number one, Waiga, thank you for inviting me, but before I answer your question, and I'll explain to you later why I think it's important. Let me send a happy belated birthday to my president, President Emeritus, Honorable Mwai Kibaki, which he celebrated yesterday. He was very keen on the type of governance that Kenya needed to have. He had a different view, but when the politicians went to Naivasha, they never bought into his thinking because Emilio Mwai Kibaki had foreseen these problems. He had actually warned us, and he said, a governor is like a chief executive officer. You can't pick anybody from the streets. You need somebody with sound managerial and leadership skills. That one was overlooked. So the problems and the challenges we're facing right now is for failure to take counsel from Emeritus President Emilio Mwai Kibaki. Now, to answer your question, I think, let me again congratulate Madam Anne Kananu, whether she came through the back door or the front door. She now happens to be our governor for the next 9 months, hopefully, if the Court of Appeal does not overturn. We're hoping they don't overturn, because what can you do in 9 months? Nothing. So the first thing that I'm hoping, because Madam Kananu has been brought in by the system, of course, by default. My friend Mike Sonko Mbuvi thought it was child's play, and he proposed several names, including Anne Kananu. But Anne Kananu, maybe the star was on our side, and we find ourselves in that situation. She's now the governor. So the first thing that I would advise her to do is not to take the zero approach mentality to management. That you believe that those people who were there before did nothing. So you want to start from zero. That's a zero approach mentality to management. So if she does that, the 9 months will move so fast. She will do nothing. She will go into this, the history books has somebody who just passed by that office with no impact on the people in Nairobi. So that's the first thing to do. I also agree with my sister here, the CS, Elachi, that probably changing the CECs will take time. Probably, you know, maybe trying to work with the ones that she has found there to save on time, get them to the assembly and get them reverted or confirmed. I think that's what she needs to do. Now, whether Madam Kananu will be able to achieve anything is a matter of time, but she has NMS.
It's a matter of 9 months.
She has, yes, she has NMS on her side. Now, NMS has taken practically all the functions.
That's how you see it, because as per the law, there are four key functions.
The key functions. You know, the key functions. Forget about the auxiliary functions or the department. I don't know what firefighting is still under the governor. In fact, she's only left with the firefighting department, and maybe I think issuing licenses to pets and so on and so forth. So the substantive job is actually with General Badi. So for me, if I were her, I would find a way of managing the politics. Because we're getting into elections, 9 months, and I can tell you, the MCAs will not give her time to breathe. They have their own interests. They have a lot of interests. They are fighting to get re-election. So their interest levels on certain matters are extremely high. So how she's going to balance to make sure that she operates within the law and not find herself where other brothers of mine have found themselves visiting the Golden House on Milimani.
Where Harvey and others operate from daily.
Where Harvey earns a living from. Yeah? No, she needs to be extremely careful, so that she doesn't find herself in that particular space. It is very easy.
Okay, yeah. And I'm going to get into NMS very soon. But before that, I want us to talk about the elephant or the elephants in the room. And Elachi, I want to start with you because you've addressed them before in this same studio. The legendary cartels that apparently run Nairobi County. Last week on a show just like this one, Daybreak with Sam Gituku, you warned then Deputy Governor Kananu that those cartels were going to pose a challenge to her in executing her mandate. Can you expound more on this?
Well, now let me start this way. Nairobi County is a county where they will decide today this is the law, and they will move with that, whether it is the law or not the law.
Who are they?
Well, now let's now go to the county assembly first. Okay. For example, today, for the last 1 week, civil servants who are staff have gone through a lot of torture. Some have been now victimized. Oh, you are Luyas. Oh, you are this tribe. But then the worst was they ended up demoting them, ended up deciding to remove a structure, and so you even find you have sacked others without knowing. And then they rushed to court. Through the labor court, a judge gives them orders, and they are orders that are very sound, that without a void of doubt, you are back to work, you cannot be suspended, you cannot be sacked, you cannot be demoted, and even your salary was removed. But what have they done today? Woke up, an acting clerk decides in the morning, writes letters, and all of them have been interdicted, 49 of them. And so you can imagine, now this is my Governor Anne. She would walk into the same assembly, she would want help. Through the speaker, she would want to see a few things move. Maybe the cartels have decided, no, you're not going to change the toilets. No, you're not going to change the planning system that we have.
How powerful are these?
Oh, my. Do you know
please feel free to tell us
I am very free today. I want to talk about Nairobi because we must make sure if we are having new things in Nairobi, then it has to change. So now let's go to the system that just decides how to work within Nairobi, how to give you a license of maybe painting your house, repairing your house, building a house. Do you know in Nairobi, we had a system that you would come and guys are waiting for you and they will tell you, Wahiga, no. Why are you looking? Even now with NMS, you know, I don't need to lie. Even now. Until now, Badi had to now bring in a new system, which he has been trying. That is why I know many people are wondering, how come I am unable to start my house? I'm still waiting. It's because Badi is trying to change the system so that it works better. But then what of it, they will come and tell you, no, us, we can do it from here. And so you'll go in the county, they will sign for you some papers, and you move. But you have not gone through the system. So what has happened? That revenue has gone with people. They know and they will do for you that system. The most unfortunate part of all this is that when you have your leaders who feel money is better than anything, that you can sell your soul and sell your soil, sell everything, because money has come. And I said this last time when I was here, Wahiga, that today, if anything comes on the floor of the House, that is how we changed the zones of Nairobi. And you realize where flats were not supposed to be, even without imagining there's no sanitation, there's no infrastructure to just hold that. It was changed in one day using the floor of the House. So it is very sad on how we have...
Sounds like anything goes if
anything goes,
right
as long as you have the money.
As long as you have the money in Nairobi.
As long as... That is why even my former governor, he would just give 20... We used to say 2010. 2010, immediately, people will just change their mind and you'll realize, okay, what just happened? But then, if you are keen enough, you can stop it. And that's why I said, it is not as easy as you think. Even I know if I walk into Badi's office today, he will tell me there are some things he wonders, how does this function? But he's unable because he's wondering, those who have captured the system, those who understand this system, they will do anything, anything. They will kill to have what they want. Let's not lie. They will kill to have what they want. And so ask yourself, even as we move on, everything that you have seen in a manner that you'll wonder, how did it just happen in Nairobi? It didn't just happen. They've used a system, they've used the law, and then they have now come into a system where everything is litigation. So if I don't get it, I would rather take it to court. Let it stay in court, up and down, you go, you case, you're not getting answers. People are just playing. So that this government moves out, we can do it in the next government.
That's what's happening in Nairobi.
That's what
Which makes me wonder then, President Harvey, is this the county you want to serve in as a legislator after hearing all that?
Absolutely. You know, Wahiga, I've said on this forum before, I'm built for rough terrain. And the people of Westlands deserve the very best. The outgoing member of National Assembly has performed tremendously well. What better platform than for me to pick from where he has left and continue his legacy. And look, he is a very good manager. His experience in Westlands has demonstrated as much. He will be in charge of Nairobi County. Things will be in order. With all the things that she's made, It's okay. My sister, Beatrice Elachi, has elaborated the dangers that lie ahead. And for a seasoned politician like our incoming governor, should he be elected, I believe he should be able to perform a good job. But for me, my role is well cut out in the Constitution and the CDF Act. The oversight of what happens in the county government of Nairobi will, to a large extent, be determined by the people elected to the county assembly and the senator. That does not mean, as the servant of the people of Westlands, I'll have no role to play.
Should they choose you as their next? Should
they choose me? But just to add on to what my two colleagues have said, the term of the deed between the national government and the county government of Nairobi comes to an end on the 25th of February 2022. And if the reasons that were advanced for the transfer of those 4 fundamental functions from the county government to the national government are to be understood. And the understanding is this. There was a deficit, there was a paucity of good governance in the then governor. And if this is the person they have thought is better placed to serve, then NMS, which is a constitutional entity, must cede and let Anne Kananu, whatever it's worth, do her work.
How will she navigate this? Bearing in mind, if you listen to her speech today, she prominently thanked President Uhuru Kenyatta and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. What sort of political message in your reading was she sending out? And she might now find herself in a place where she needs to take on those who she thanked if she is to carry out her full mandate.
Well, I think, like myself, Governor Anne Kananu is a very truthful person. She knows who put her in office. So we can't blame her for thanking the people who put her in office.
And you're going to leave it at that?
Let me leave it at that.
Does Nairobi need NMS with a substantive governor tonight, in your view?
No, it doesn't. Because as I've pointed out, the considerations were as follows. One, it was seen that the then Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko had failed in the proper management of Nairobi County. And the national government was better placed to take these functions. And for that reason, the county government ceded those functions. Yes, the deed is time-bound. It's just a period of 3 months from now. Perhaps to enable seamless transition, we may await the expiry of the term on the 25th of February as Anne Kananu prepares to succeed as the governor of Nairobi.
Which is in February, not today, if you look at the full functions. Philip, does Nairobi need NMS with a substantive governor now in office?
Now, yes and no. I think, first of all, let me just comment on what my sister said in terms of, the so-called cartels that operate in City Hall. By the time we were leaving office, we had streamlined the Department of Planning. By the time you were leaving, building plans approvals were automated. So there was no human contact. As an architect, you needed to be in the office, you plug in your AAK number, you carry out the submissions. On the other side, we had created a secretariat that was being led by people from private sector, people in the building space, architects, engineers, planners, and so on and so forth. Their job was to review, approve, make recommendations for adjustments, or reject, and then forward to the Department of Planning to do only one thing, to stamp it, give it approval. So by the time you're leaving, this thing was working. You can check with IFC, you can check with the people in the building space. The problem is leadership. Because immediately we left, and we left a working system. Those who came after us made sure that that system failed. And the first occupant just failed to pay for internet services, because that system was run by internet services. So he just refused to pay, and the whole system collapsed. So you can't blame anybody. You can only blame the character who is holding the position of leadership at that point in time. Now, you're asking whether we need NMS? Yes. Because the structures in City Hall have been destroyed by the occupants who are there in the last 9 years. The system.
But did they not inherit part of the...
No. I'm saying...
Just from previous...
my good friend, the late Gakuo, God rest his soul in eternal peace, I was there. We left systems. I'm just specifically talking about the planning department. We had automated that department. It was, the building plans were being received through a working system to the secretariat. Now, so, to change, to rejig a system that has been destroyed for 9 years, you need a bit of time. So Anne Kananu probably, as my brother said, between now and 25th of February, she should be working with NMS so that to allow them to exit. Whether they have done a good job or not, I don't know. Now, who can we blame for this mess? There are two people, or there are two entities. The first group of people that you want to squarely lay blame on are the people of Nairobi. Because the people of Nairobi, my administration had done the master plan for Nairobi that runs from 2014 to 2039. It was approved. It was done in consultation with the people of Nairobi. It was not done by Philip Kisia and Tom Odongan Group. It was done by the people of Nairobi with the help of JICA. So the people of Nairobi approved and say, this is how we want our city to develop. This is a planning document that must be used. So now, if the assembly is, who is superior? Is it the assembly or the people of Nairobi? So somebody should have looked for Harvey and taken the assembly to court and say, this is not what we approved. We have a working document. Please use this document if any approvals are to be given. If any planning work needs to be done. The second set of people are the political leaders, those who are providing political leadership. You see, exit the city, come in the county. Who did they propose as our first governor? We all know. The messes are there. They have been documented. Then Jubilee, a party I supported, again, instead of being a bit more serious.
Are you telling me Beatrice Elachi and party were not serious?
No, Beatrice Elachi was a speaker. He was not the manager of the county. He was a speaker of the assembly. So her work was limited to the assembly. I'm talking about my party that gave a huge responsibility to run a serious corporation called Nairobi City County to people who have no capacity in terms of management, in terms of leadership. Forget about the issues of integrity. That's a story for another day. So if these parties were serious, they would say, who should we be considering as a CEO for a county like Nairobi that takes about 40% of GDP, that, if Nairobi doesn't work, the entire region will collapse, the country will fail. We are not taking it seriously. That is why those in political leadership that have had the opportunity to present a serious candidate have given us people who have no capacity. But finally, I get back to my mentor, the President Emeritus Mwai Kibaki. He had warned us. And he said, for heaven's sake, I beseech you, I plead with you, kindly, running a county is running like a blue chip company. You cannot afford to hand it over to somebody who is riffraff. Please, let us amend this one. I agree. In fact, he even had proposed 13 counties. They went there, they created 47 counties. But he said, okay, I agree with 47 counties. But for heaven's sake, let us have a law that allows the county to source for a reputable manager, competitively. You can even go to Singapore. If you can get locally, go wherever, get the best to run your city county. So if you had listened to my mentor, Emilio Mwai Kibaki, we would not be in this mess. But of course, it was done because of expediency. Let us just quickly do this thing, and we want, somebody to be. Who are you putting in that office? Can you, Maura, can we get a quack? Can citizens put a quack here as an anchor? Can they? Can Safaricom, which is just doing telecoms, it's just doing telecoms.
Okay.
Can Safaricom put a quack?
I'll stop you there because you've made your point. Loud and clear. CS, do you agree with that?
Well,
you have shown expressions of... and even as I ask you that, so who will be in charge for the next 9 months? Is it Governor Kananu? Is it NMS? Where does the buck stop?
Two things that governor should do. last time we said, and I think my president of LSK said it so well, you know, sometimes you look at something and now you ask for God's wisdom. And I said last time, God's wisdom. Because you cannot, if you come to antagonize NMS right now without knowing how you want to get the functions back, and there must be a process in even receiving those functions, because it's not just functions coming and you're just being given. You know, there's a process where they'll tell you, we have done this, we have done this. We got the county when it was the 4 functions, which within the Constitution, the 4 functions turn out to be 12 functions that are with NMS. Because in those 4 functions, we have sub-functions that were taken with the auxiliaries and all that. So as you even say in 2 months you can receive them, I'll be telling you, you will not manage. I will be very honest. The best is...
So NMS is here to stay?
Oh, the best is...
Or at least until August.
Oh, the best is work together so that you put in a team that will now see how these functions are coming back, so that the next governor does not come and find himself in a lot of challenges of where do I start Nairobi. And so the best you can have is a committee that sits and now starts relooking at every function. You took the function of health and you said you'll do it better than Governor Sonko. What have you done? What has expanded? What is that? That's why we are saying your register of liabilities, your register of assets, you can't tell me you'll do it in 1 week and get them. No. Then you come back to the next function. That function was for planning and everything and infrastructure. At that time, NMS was supposed to do roughly 460 kilometers across every city of this Nairobi. What have they done? So you can't tell me you're just taking the functions in February and you have not been told we have spent these billions, we have done these roads, we have not done this one. So it will take a time. It will take a while. The best you can do is work together. For the sake of Nairobi, work together. You antagonize, you find yourself in a lot of challenges. But then that transfer of deed, she has to sign it. If she wants them to continue working with her, she has to agree to sign, again retable it on the floor of the House of the Assembly for it to function again. So it is between them now and that's why I have said, and I still plead, the President, the Prime Minister, who she really thanked, both of them, must call their troops, sit down and ask yourselves, do you want the transfer of deed to come back? Or you want to work together? And if we are working together, how are we moving forward? For the sake of making that roadmap for Anne to be very clearer. Or else, where they are going to have their best conflict is within the revenues. Because now we have a governor. And
who wants to stamp her mark and a legacy,
yes,
have a legacy of sorts.
And wants to work. And so the revenues, where are they? The revenues are being collected at the moment with KRA. So am I, as Anne Kananu governor, I have to sit with KRA. We agree. I have a few functions. I have the markets remaining with me, but the auxiliary of those markets are again with NMS. So there's a lot of where you have to sit. The infrastructure is with NMS. So we say in public works and government, if that is the arm that has that infrastructure, you can't just walk and say, I will do this. So you need to work together. You need to work together. She needs to have wisdom of not antagonizing, because it will come to hurt her more, but having an understanding. But before that, sitting in front of the president and the prime minister and having a clear how we are working, how we want to see Nairobi move. And it should not be with a few. I want to tell the president, this one you have to call the whole house. Sit together. Don't push it with the leadership and then you come and then the county assembly members feel call together, have that harmony, start a journey together.
In your view, that is the best way
to move
forward.
Start, and the general body should be there, and so each one will know their boundaries.
Won't you set a future precedent that every governor moving forward will be forced or coerced to sign that deed to hand over functions? Don't you see the danger of another extension?
No.
Because that's a concern that some aspirants would have this evening.
No. I think Kidero worked so well. Let's be very honest. Every governor has their powers within the Constitution. Indeed, if it was rightfully, then the best that would have happened if and then we felt, because the Constitution also gives the powers to the president, that when a county is in such conflict, then he comes and evokes Article 187 or Article 190. And that is what the president felt for Nairobi. But now that we have these two structures that are together, and all of them are for the benefit of Nairobi, and the Constitution also allows that when you feel that you have an arm that is not functioning and you would want the national government or even the county government to support, then there is that. But then now, here is where the danger is when we come in and you want to feel, but you found this thing.
Okay.
And that's why I'm saying, you can't just enter into it and just say, okay, I need it. It can hurt you for nothing, because they are also accountable and responsible for public resources that they have spent when they were doing these functions.
Okay.
And it is just fair enough. That is why the Constitution, even the Assumption of Office Act, gives you a very good opportunity to say, before you start anything, please, Governor, tell them to give you the liabilities, give you the assets, ensure you know your balances, ensure you know projects that are being funded by donors, and why? So that you are aware and very clear that I've taken an oath, and it does not matter whether it's 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, you can find yourself in court.
If you're not careful.
Oh, yes.
I think that's a good note to take a break. I know LSK President having here to respond to this, but let's take a quick break. We've also got lots of your feedback. 22422 is the SMS line. Hashtag is Newsnight. We take a break. We come back, read some of your feedback, get a few more thoughts on the way forward for Nairobi before we wrap this up. Thanks for keeping it here. You're watching Citizen TV. We'll be right back.